Today is Wednesday, March 6th, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor Edge of Extinction, Episode 3.
That's right. We're in Week 3, and this episode was titled Betrayals Are Going to Get Exposed, and that was courtesy of Mr. David Wright. Actually said secrets and betrayals are going to get exposed. Previously on Survivor at the Kama Tribe, all eyes are on the returning players. At Manu, the target is Wentworth. But War Dog, we're told, had his own agenda. Off to Tribal Council, and boom, it's Keith. War Dog got his way.
Okie dokie.
And for Keith, this presents another dilemma. Does he go home or does he grab that torch? And we're in. Night 6, Keith's on the boat. He lands at Edge of Extinction and gets promptly greeted by Reem. But she's not going to sugarcoat it. It's straight up hard out here, she tells me.
Yep, it's an emotional roller coaster, too. And now she has to stay to take care of Keith.
She was darn near give up on it all, but she's going to have to play the mom role.
She's a mother. She can't abandon that boy.
It sounded like it didn't sound like it was coming from a warm, nurturing space. It sounded like a begrudging thing. Now I got to stay, and I got to mother Keith. But that just may be because of the way she talks, her cadence and all that. There's nothing warm and
actually,
comforting
no,
about her.
You don't. But because if you leave, he probably will too.
Translation: people will expect me to do this, therefore I will stay and do this. That's more like what was there.
Well, it'll be interesting for the following week to see when there's 3 if she still feels the need.
There you go. It's off the hook. Someone else could take care of him. Yep. I'm out of here.
And somebody that could do it way better.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't put that past her at all. All right, so next day, and it's time for Message in a Bottle.
Yep, there's 2 bottles, one with each of their names on it, and it says there are steps. So how come she didn't get that, I wonder?
Well, because she tried nothing and then was promptly all out of ideas. She informs us that she had searched all over this beach, and it's a mighty big island, so she didn't bother with that part of it. So you
think maybe it was there? She just...
Oh, yeah, it absolutely...
That's why there was one with both their names on it?
Yeah, I don't know why they did it that way, because it looked like they got identical maps, and I'm not sure what the purpose of that would be.
Well, but that would have made sense if hers had been there all along, and then they put one out for Keith.
You're saying that hers had been there since...
Yes, from the beginning.
Since day 4.
She hadn't found it, maybe.
And she hadn't noticed that there was a bottle there.
She said it was new, but why would they put 2 identical maps?
And then she'd just been walking by it for 2 days, basically. That would be funny. I think they would show you if that was indeed the case. I love the humor in what you're proposing, but even Goofball Reem would have noticed it, and the editors would have had too much...
I like my story. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, they would have had too much fun with that, showing... Because they could have been cutting between her whining and then the bottle sitting right there, and then more whining, and then the bottle. There's no way they would have... There's no way they would have passed on that.
Okay, so...
Climb the steps, huff and puff, huff and puff.
Well, I thought she was going to quit looking anyway before they found something. But they did find them. Mm-hmm. And...
so there's a bucket hanging in a tree, and in the bucket
I bet they were all excited thinking that bucket was full.
Yes, of goodies. But it sounded like it had 1 portion of rice in it for the day.
Okay, yeah, well...
Now, I don't doubt that was potentially there all along. That she could have found that.
Well, maybe...
If she had ventured off.
Maybe there was just a portion for her. But since she hadn't retrieved it all, they hadn't replenished it. Too, if the bottle was there.
Yeah, that doesn't quite fit, but okay.
Yeah, well,
I get what you're trying for.
Well, anyway,
So now she's disappointed that it was only enough for a day, and that
They have
they're
to go
going to have
back
to
every day?
climb every day. What was your idea?
was, well, alternate days. You don't have to go every day, the two of you. If you didn't want to, you wouldn't if somebody was injured or
What's
sick.
the risk of that, though?
Not finding something else that was left,
Yeah.
like a clue or
Yep.
an idol.
But she'd probably be okay with that, just to get a day off from
Probably.
climbing steps the way she was complaining.
Well, and you have to debate, is that much energy expenditure worth the amount of food that you get? Is it enough to even replenish what you use to go up there and back? Because if it isn't, then go fish.
With what? It's not like she's
don't
going to
know.
make something to fish with.
Well,
This
they
is
could.
not the type
They
of
could-
woman.
She
There's-
can weave. We've seen her weave. She was
not
weaving
the type
out
of woman
there
that's going to make a fish
to
basket.
make a basket. Or
No, it's way easier to complain about
she
it.
must have something to fish with, because she said she was just too tired to go try to get fish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is always cutting a long stick and making a steak and stabbing a fish.
Okay.
I mean, if you're
Says
really
Joanne.
hungry, I
Yeah.
would try. Well, I would certainly try it.
Yeah.
I might not get any, might be no good at it at all, but I would at least try it.
Mm-hmm.
At
We've
least I
already
think I
spent
would.
more time talking about the edge of extinction than I think it's worth. Is there
Well,
anything else
okay.
you want to add about that?
Well, then move right along.
Okay, boom, right into the award challenge there. This is a 2-day cycle. This is just day 7 and day 8, so it's going to be a pretty long 7
Well,
with a lot
they
going
were
on.
moving it right along, weren't they?
Yeah.
Which is good.
Julia wasn't surprised that Keith got voted out. She commented on that right away.
I can't believe any of them were surprised after his
So-
swimming performances.
Yeah. All right, so we got a reward challenge. We'll get 2 challenges this week, reward and immunity. And, of course, that forces them to be a little strategic because they have to sit 2 people out with their 2-player advantage in comma. And so they have to be a little strategic about that.
And those 2 people this week were Aubry and Ron. They have to assemble a wheelbarrow, collect the sandbags, and then turn the wheelbarrow into a slingshot and use those sandbags to knock the 4 targets off.
Woohoo!
Or
Slingshots.
over.
Yeah, I'm always up for this challenge. I think this is a good
And
challenge.
they can win 3 chickens and a rooster, or
Or-
they can go for comfort with a
Yeah.
hammock and all their
Chickens
items.
usually win in that scenario.
Well, yeah, it's food.
Yep.
Food over comfort.
And of course, as you pointed out,
Unless there's a
after
tarp.
we were watching, this was an opportunity for Ron to take comfort. He could have stolen,
That's right.
I guess, taken that reward or taken the chickens or whatever.
Yeah,
So something to
but he
consider.
didn't do that. So
Nothing to look
now he needs to not tell anybody. Hope he hasn't told anybody. Because now his advantage is no longer
Well, we hadn't got to
any
that
good.
that part in the
Well.
recap, but right, fair enough.
I don't care.
All right, so it looked like Manu was doing okay. They were struggling a little bit. Kama got to building their slingshot first,
Well-
and that's when Wendy hurt herself. But you can't really see it. She said I thought she said the wheel fell on her, but I didn't see the wheel fall at all. It looked like it was part of the bottom frame, the base of it there that might have fallen on her.
Well, I
leg.
wasn't sure she really knew exactly what did happen.
Yeah,
But-
just knew it hurt, but
Yeah.
her adrenaline was pumping, and she just kept going.
And, the Kama tribe was in the lead for a second. They got it to the corner at the same time, and Joe managed to get past Rick and make that turn, and so they got ahead. And then the next thing I knew, wow, how did Manu get ahead?
I thought Joe might do. Sometimes when we're riding on bicycles, someone will ride up behind you and they'll just grab your bike, right? Or they'll grab on so that you're like pulling them too a little bit. So I thought he might be doing that to Rick a little. That he might have grabbed the back of the handle behind Rick's hand when they
Who
met
would do
there.
that? Has anyone ever done that to you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you do it goofing around. I'm not talking about in a race. You get disqualified. They'd DQ you if they caught you doing it in a race.
But somebody you didn't know did that?
No, it's people I was training with. I knew.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I would have an issue.
You would? Okay.
Okay.
Misdirected focus there a little bit. But
Well, it took my attention. Excuse me? You grabbed my husband's bike? We have a problem.
you missed the whole point of what I was saying.
Well, of course, because I went right into, I'm the wife, and so I have to protect you.
You have to protect
from
me.
the amino people.
I see. All right, so Manu gets their slingshot lined up, and Probst informs us that Chris is back in the hero role, and he sure enough starts delivering. Right, he knocks down with his very first shot.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Gavin whiffed a couple, and Julia stepped up for Kama, and she got her first one. But then she started missing, and you could tell a little bit by the way that she was holding the bag, where the sandbag went there, that she was throwing her aim off.
But she was better than Gavin.
Yeah, she definitely did better than Gavin. She at least got one, but that wasn't enough. With Chris was on fire.
Chris
so
was
it was
done before
1,
they
2,
got
3, 4.
started.
Yeah, but I think before she could take her second or
They had to
third
get
shot.
a feel for it, but Chris was already done.
So congrats to
Game
Manu.
over.
They won reward. It's their first challenge win.
And they chose the chickens.
Yep. And Wendy tells us that her ankle is hurting, throbbing, bruised, hurts after the challenge.
And the guys have to help her back to camp. She can't come up that hill.
Yep, back at the Manu camp, still on day 7 of her 2-day cycle, 7 and 8. And that's when she was saying that the wheel fell on her. And all the talk about slaughtering the chickens is really bugging her for some reason. So she's crying in pain, and then she's disturbed about the chickens.
Well, I thought Dan had a good plan. Before the next tribal council, we'll eat some chicken.
Get powered up.
Get powered up.
Yep.
Go in and get a win.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seemed to be okay with that, but Wendy.
Yep. She
And
tries to recruit Rick to be an accomplice to set the chickens free. He's very clear with her. Count me out.
I'm not killing anything, but
He would commiserate
no,
with her. I
no.
like what he said. We're both bleeding heart chicken eaters or chicken liberals or something that he said there to her. That was funny. But he had no interest in the free the chickens plan,
Yep.
which is smart on him. Now, when I see her doing this and hear her talking about this, I immediately start thinking this is an engineered quit.
Gimme.
It's self-sabotage so that, it just feeds her cover story. So
But I don't think it was really that for her. It looks like that, but I don't think it really was. I don't think she quit. She wasn't in the quit mode, but
No, that's why I said an engineered quit. You go back to the very first season, you can see someone that they're done with the game, and they put themselves in a situation so that
you're talking BB or
they're basically having someone else force them out of the game. But it's by their own volition. They start it. She's the catalyst for it.
yeah. I don't really agree with that, but okay.
Well, it's either that or she's just not that bright. That's my takeaway
Okay,
at this point.
I can go with that.
Because it's clearly pointed out to her, there's no advantage, and you're not a vegetarian. You've got no basis. You're just being a flake.
Well, no, I think he had a point in saying that she's a little stubborn, and I think she just wanted to voice her point, and she wanted to be devious. She really wanted to do something, to let the chickens escape, or she just wanted to be a Russell Hance or something, I guess.
All right, let's bounce over to the Kama tribe there on day 7 after their loss.
Victoria. Oh, honey.
Someone else who isn't proving to be too bright in the context of the game.
Aurora is the only one, they tell us, on board with the returning players. The rest of the people want to get the returning players out.
Yeah, so
they had their chance.
They've got a majority alliance of 6 against Joe, Aubry, and Aurora, who has somehow misaligned herself. She missed out on being a first-timer somehow.
So Victoria's just telling Ron where Ron's head is. I have no idea. because Joe is literally right behind her a yard away.
They're talking about.
And Ron's looking right that direction.
Yeah.
You can't not see him.
You think he's
there.
setting her up?
I kind of felt like he could be.
I was just thinking neither one of them were the sharpest pencil in the box at that point.
Yeah,
so.
but he's not stupid.
No.
He's not. So I just don't know what he was thinking. All you got to do is just like, oh, hey, Joe. Just get her attention that Joe's standing right behind.
There's a great contrast between Ron and Victoria and David and Rick over on the other tribe. There are two scenes where one of the returnees, they're talking about someone and that person walks up on them, and you see how Ron and Victoria mismanage, bungle it, and then end up in this
Rick's like,
awkward conversation
Kelly's
with Joe.
coming to David. That's what you're referring to. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's what you're referring to. But that was just too clueless, and Joe could obviously hear them and knew what they were talking about. I mean, that's
and didn't shy away.
No.
Yeah, he went over and talked to him.
Well, it's red-handed. What can you say? He just heard what you said. You can't deny it at that point. So
Joe tells us they don't ever give anything back when he's trying to reach out and talk to her.
Yep. Well, that's a sign, too. Though I thought Joe was safer for now, then I don't know if everybody's on board with that. But Aubry, on the other hand, who we had chosen to go this week, says she needs an idol. So she runs right out there and finds one.
Runs for it and finds it. So good on her. There was editors now for all the digs that they took at her last week with the opening of dialogue and you remind me of me and I like yous. We get a great montage this week. This is the Aubry redemption arc. You can see her desperately seeking idols in her two previous seasons, and then the big payoff. She finds one here, and it's a big emotional moment for her.
Well, yeah, I kind of liked that she was that into it. That
restored the balance to the Aubry arc.
To her survivor experience.
Uh-huh.
She wanted to experience it all. Now, give me an idol. So that was cool that she found it. Though, didn't help my picks for the week, but... or yours, but okay, fine.
Yep.
We had convinced ourselves she was going.
Yep, I did think that there was an excellent possibility, and that diminished greatly upon her finding a hidden immunity idol. I didn't want to count it out, though. I thought, well, there still could be a blind side, and that would be some pretty desperate irony.
And I went in after making my picks last, Saturday or something. I went in last minute because I couldn't remember all my safe picks. And I decided, you know what? If I really believe that they're going to lose, I really should try to get a point off of Wentworth and Wendy. I had Wendy down, but I thought, I'm going to go ahead and choose Kelly. Oh, so you can imagine how the rest of the episode went for me.
Okay, back over to Manu there on day 7.
Dan says Wendy is just so stubborn. She's not even a vegetarian.
She's not off her rocker. She lost her rocker, according to War Dog. That's good.
And Lauren's
he was mixing things up a little bit, but that was still funny.
She's fine with her not eating the chicken. Hey, more for me, but don't tell me I can't eat the chicken.
Right.
And I agree with that. I'm with Lauren on that.
Yes, Wendy is being a hypocrite straight up.
And Kelly's like, well, I already want Wendy out. She voted for me, and I got to get her before she gets me. She still seems to have no clue how much David wants her out. And
no sense of it.
He's so sure she's coming for him. And she may be, but they've not shown us one word she even mentioned.
I don't think
David's
she thinks
name.
About him.
That's the impression they're giving us. David, you're not even on my radar.
Yeah.
You're no threat to me. So.
Definite kill or be killed moment, Wentworth tells us. And she's got the strong 4 to do some killing with Laurel, Chris, and War Dog there on her side. Okay.
So that was all in day 7.
On to day 8, it's time for the community challenge.
And Wendy does have her ankle wrapped.
I think I could see that it was wrapped when she was laying there in the shelter talking to War Dog.
But for sure,
I couldn't quite tell color-wise. But yeah, you can see it clearly before the immunity challenge that it's wrapped and all ace bandaged up. So she's getting some good compression on it.
And it seemed to not be as painful. I mean, come on, she swam through the water beautifully.
Yeah, and you are definitely, well, it's kind of hard to swim with a dead foot. You're using your foot when you're swimming like that, and she's a strong swimmer. So,
yeah,
either she just pushed the pain down or whatever, but she did great in the challenge. So we've got 3 people that get towed in the boat by the 4 swimmers. They got to first pull them over to a tower where they jump out and grab keys. These little buoys on them that have the keys, and they use the keys to unlock a chest to get out the puzzle pieces for like an old-timey ship's wheel.
Now, here's something that I don't know if it was pointed out to them, but I noticed because before we've had people, drop those things on the way down, then they've had to swim and find them, which wastes time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember seeing any one of those 6 people drop a key in the water and then have to swim for it. They had it and was swimming right to the boat, from what I could see.
Yeah, you can mess yourself up really bad with this too, because if you were to let go of it after you've dropped in and gone down a little bit, like you see people
take time to float up.
Well, it's not that it'll take time. It'll kind of get shot back up out of the water. It'll even come up out of the water. So with things that have a high buoyancy like that, you can pull them down, and when you jump in the water, you go in so fast, and then you could see with all these folks, they were landing on the bottom, hitting the sand, and then pushing back off. So they went down maybe 8-10 feet, something like that. But if you were to accidentally let go of it down there, it could come whooshing back up and launch into the air and end up way far away from you. But yeah, nobody did that. They all seemed to manage it pretty well. The only thing that I saw that was a little off that I think cost them some time was Julia swam around to the other side of the boat instead of swimming to the closest side to climb back in so that Aubry could go and get the last key. Julia actually swam around to the other side. So
Inexperience.
Maybe she got disoriented a little bit or something on her way back up.
Or just thought it was the easier way to get in. Either way, she made it. They were a little bit behind, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually just said that out loud, yes.
Oh, well, I guess I wasn't listening to you then.
Oy. Yes, so Manu got off to an early lead thanks to those strong swimmers like Wendy.
And David again grabs the key, runs over, and gets that chest open right away. Grab those puzzle pieces out, and David, Kelly, and Lauren get started on the puzzle.
It was looking good for us at this point. I thought they were going to have Manu's first immunity win because they got in there so quick. And the ship's wheels assembled in 3 stages. There are 3 different bags of pieces. And the first bag is the spokes of the wheel, and then you've got the actual wheel itself, and then the third set are the handles that attach to the wheel, like you see the captains grab hold of when they're spinning the wheels around. So unfortunately, David, Lauren, and Wentworth had just a heck of a time there with the spokes of the wheel. They just couldn't work it out. And these spokes, they're not all the same length. Some of them come in 2 pieces. Some of them, I think maybe 1 or 2 of them are just one long piece that's exactly the right length for the wheel. But others are 2 and 3 different components long, and they've got to screw those together to make sure they're all equal length. And
David was
didn't happen.
Obviously a problem because he apologized afterwards, number one, and Lauren was saying, no, this doesn't go on here.
Yeah, she was screaming at them pretty intensely there when things weren't going their way.
She likes to win.
David, as opposed to the rest of us that just thrill in losing, yeah. David was he was sort of heck bent on putting the spokes together, and he wasn't paying attention to the different lengths. He had been assembling them in the wrong length.
Well, while they were busy doing that, Aubry, Julia, and Ron just solved the thing. And
yeah, they caught up, and they passed them, and then they solved it, yeah.
And
so Comma wins again. 3 wins in a row.
So I was like, well, okay. Now I don't have to worry about my safe pick. Joe, I just have to worry because I had Wentworth and Wendy safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember who else. Dan, I think. So all three of my other save points were on that tribe. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was getting a little nervous at this point. But we get back to camp, and lo and behold, Wendy has formed a plan. She runs over, grabs the flint, and away she goes. I'm not going to let them cook that chicken. Now, why didn't they cook chicken beforehand like they said?
They said they would, yeah.
Instead of cooking it when they get back. You're going to reward yourself for your loss. Huh?
Or you're going to feed someone that's about to go home. I think that's the more important part. You don't really need to be doing that.
Well, they thought they were sending Wendy home, and so she wasn't eating anyway. So
yeah, they thought it would work out.
I think
Save
so.
themselves some effort before the challenge.
So I thought it was odd that David wanted Rick to go ask Wendy about the flint.
Yeah, Rick just flipped
Like,
that on him right quick, didn't he?
He did, and I appreciate that about it. It's
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, I'll go with you, but
You handle the introductions. And he said, and then I'll come in and be bad cop.
well, I didn't see him being bad cop, but they got, and I was afraid she wouldn't lie to Rick since she had asked him to be her accomplice before.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought she lied pretty well to them. I'm not sure what she did with the flint or where she hid it or if she'll ever bring it back. Because you would think she would want fire at some point. But
Yeah.
that's just, I thought it was rather silly
In any
myself.
case, they end up having
And
a
dangerous.
strategy talk.
Yep,
And,
yep,
Because David's still focused on taking out Wentworth.
yep. And I guess she agrees. Still, even though she's never really in the loop, she thinks she is.
Which is good. You want people to think they're in their loop
Yep,
loop at this
yep.
stage in the game. So they're definitely doing that right. But David tells us that he really needs to reach out to Chris to bring the plan to fruition. So that's going to be the next step.
Well, and David and Rick go back to camp and tell the others, no, she didn't take it. It wasn't her. She didn't do it. And I guess they believed them. I don't know why they thought she would tell them the truth, but they seemed to buy it.
Well, the alternative is you have to go find her and have a talk with her. And they're probably not that interested in doing that.
Yep.
So they're willing to accept what
So-
David and Rick came back with.
What is the very first thing David said to you, Chris?
Don't tell War Dog.
Or Lauren? Because they'll tell her.
But Chris tells us he's open with everyone back in the real world, and he's not going to burn bridges. So he goes and tells War Dog the plan. Wendy or Wentworth.
Well, and it backfired again. Oh, well, I trust Kelly more than I trust Chris. Let's just take Chris out.
War Dog's got another plan. It does appear like he's calling the shots. At least that's the story they're telling.
And Kelly's reaction is the same it was with Wendy. Well, forget Wendy. We'll get her later.
She's
Chris
off the
is
menu.
after me.
Yeah.
Well, let's get him. He's more of a threat
Chris
than Wendy.
is on the menu now, yes.
Yep. Now
Yep.
it's Chris's turn. And obviously they did a pretty good job of hiding that. And
But if you want to know who's really in the best possible position in Manu, all you got to do is look at what happens next. And War Dog goes to Rick, or Devins, as Probst keeps referring to him. And Rick is in the best position. He's got an alliance with
everybody's
David.
telling him something.
Yeah, he's got an alliance with Wendy. He's got an alliance with Chris. He's got an alliance with Dan. So he's sitting pretty good in that tribe.
I think so too. I don't see anybody feeling afraid of him yet, and they're just feeding him information.
Yeah, they're more than happy to share plans with him. So he's positioned himself really well. I think he's actually playing a better game than anyone else.
I like the pairing of Rick and David, because when Rick goes back and tells him, Rick's like, "Oh, thank goodness he didn't know I was in on that too." You know,
Plan to take out Wentworth. Yeah.
Yes, good thing War Dog doesn't know that, because they'd be after me then. But David's like, "Okay," so Chris did go tell. He didn't stick with us. He didn't do what we asked him. And so, he does know that we're after hers. But if we get rid of him, nobody else knows except Wendy, who nobody pays her any attention. So even if she said it and they denied it, they'd probably believe them over her. But
Right. This is where David gives us the title when he's talking about that. Secrets And betrayals are going to get exposed.
So no one then will know they're targeting
Supposedly.
Kelly. And so I thought, okay, this is looking good for me to not lose a safe point also. So I liked that idea.
Tribal
All right.
Council, night 8.
David's talking about getting the social threat and through Kelly and War Dog, because I thought Kelly thinks she is the biggest social threat. She thinks you're talking about her, and I don't think that's helping your case any. And then War Dog expressed that, whoa, what's happening here? And then he reiterates, I'm sticking to the plan, basically what he said.
So when Tribal Council started, the first question went to Rick, and Probst asked him to judge the tribe, how they're doing. And Rick's response was great. We're losers. We really suck at this game.
They have. But I did like what he pointed out about they do have a lot more strategic experience than those on the Kama tribe.
Yep.
That's just the reality of it. And will it come back to aid them later in the game? I found that interesting that he had thought that through to that point.
We didn't have any choice. He's had the experience. So, yep.
Well, it doesn't mean everybody is that aware.
You can tell Rick is a half full kind of guy. He's
Yep.
not about the half empty. He's not like Reem.
I like that he's always smiling, cutting
Yeah.
jokes, being cheery with everybody, commiserating with them.
And I like that perspective that Chris offered too, about how when you're watching, as much as you think you'd know what you do, you can't really feel that full impact, or you can't feel the impact of the social game at all. And it has an impact. He didn't know that it was about to have a big impact on him at the time, but it definitely was something that he was wrestling with, and it was part of his experience that stood out, that when it came to having that experience at Tribal Council, it comes at a cost of these personal relationships that you're trying to work on and build here.
I don't think Chris had much of a clue about anything till his name came up for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Then he looked a little nervous. So
Ended up being 5-2 against Chris. So let's see, who was it? It was Wendy and Chris voted for Wentworth. Then everybody else voted out Chris. So he is on his way to the edge of extinction. Now that's exactly how you do it. You come up, you read the signs, and you've made a decision. Because you're a fan, because you want to play, you grab the torch, you get in the
heck
other
with
boat.
them. I'm going right back to the boat.
Yep. So what'd you think about it overall?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because it was even
You're on
more
a
intense for me.
little bit of a roller coaster due to the picks.
God, I am never doing this bold crap again.
Yeah,
That was too bold for me.
I've heard you say that.
Well, and then I do it, and I was
the only thing
a
you
nervous
didn't do
wreck.
this time, and thank you. I'll just say thank you first, is that you didn't blame me for it.
I don't usually blame you.
Yes, you do. I listened to you, and then I did this, and I regretted it.
Well, I did listen to you. And I did do it because I listened to you. But the ultimate
saying
thing
thank you
is
for
I
not
make
blaming
my
me.
own choices.
Yes, well,
And that's a given.
historically, that hadn't stopped you
Oh, yeah, right.
from
But
assigning
you know-
blame.
Yes, but you know me well enough to know that I make my own final choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't usually play as bold as you.
No, you don't.
At least
You're
that's
not
what you
suited to
call it. I call it stupid sometimes. But yeah, I was thinking, boy, you were really stupid. What did you go back and do that for? And I just feel like I scraped by the skin of my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, man. I mean, it's only a point, but you know how that is. Those of you who play JSFL. So anyway.
Yeah,
What
I
did you
enjoyed
think about it,
Enjoyed
Aubry?
it. It was good. Yeah, and definitely we were invested because of our picks, and it was going all these different kinds of ways. So it didn't go exactly the way I thought, but we got some redemption. Enjoyed the redemption portion of the arc for Aubry there, and you could tell it really had moved her. I thought at
Yes.
first that she was dry crying, but they did cut to her at one point, and you could see that she had truly been weeping. I thought maybe you're working the camera a little bit.
No, I didn't feel like she was.
Then I realized, okay, it probably is genuine. So
Yeah.
you didn't get to see the full waterworks in effect, but
Oh, you don't always.
Yep.
It's an emotion. Mm-hmm. Okay, so next on Survivor, I was okay with Wendy right up till she snuck in there and actually released the chickens. And I thought, oh, girl, you got to go. You don't go messing with people's foods. That's like back in Africa, and that guy ate those beans or whatever with a can of stuff and didn't think it was a big deal. It's a big deal.
taking food away from people is a big
yeah.
deal. Yeah, you're talking about Clarence. Yeah.
Yep. Don't take food out of people's mouths. That's not okay, and it's not cute. So I think she's just hamming for the camera and thinking it's all cute, and she gonna do this, and she gonna get back at them because she's out of the loop, etc., etc., etc. But then we see Jeff saying, "Drop your buffs."
So contrary to what we thought, they're gonna actually go to three tribes.
They did go to 3 tribes at 15.
Yep.
I said they could, but that's not what I wanted. But
yeah,
okay, it's also an option. They won't stay there more than a couple of weeks, 3 at the most. I wouldn't think so. Okay, and then they flip back over to Chris, who's upset because they lied to him, and he's gonna come back for him. Mm-hmm. And he could back that up. He could come back for him.
Yeah, he's the first serious competitor.
Oh, yeah. The other two.
So now he's the odds-on favorite for whatever challenge they face of actually coming back.
And he's somebody that I think could last the distance. He could go all the way.
Certainly, yep. He's going to make it a challenge for anyone else who shows up there.
Yeah, definitely. Who else would have... Who do I think could beat him?
Joe
or Eric, I think.
Possibly, yeah. Yep.
I think those are probably the only two I think have a chance.
Depends on what it is, too.
Well, that's true, too. If they make it, something that... But if it's physical, they're the only two I think that could take him on.
Unseat him, yep.
We hadn't seen Gavin do anything of import.
He definitely flubbed the slingshot portion. He had his chance to be the comma hero.
Was he a swimmer? I don't even remember him.
No, I just told you. Oh, yeah, yes.
Oh.
Sorry,
yes,
we're mixing the challenges.
No, we weren't.
I did.
Okay, that's more accurate.
I was talking about how he goofed up the slingshot.
And I don't know about Victoria. Julia at least stepped up this week. Mm-hmm. And so I feel a little better about her. I felt like she was being a little bit invisible.
Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about? Julie. She was a little sassy, returning the immunity idol to Probst in the challenge there. Yeah. She held on to it, so when Probst thought he was going to go put it back on the pedestal, she was still tugging on it. So
you got to work harder than that to get it back from me, Probst.
Yeah, so she's been a little scrappy with Probst now.
I see.
So they're going to do a shuffle. There's a possibility that they could end up with all 4 returnees on one tribe. What would you think about that?
Well, that would certainly be not very good, maybe for the one new player.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they would vote together. David might still be after Wentworth. So,
I don't know. I think they would kind of bond together, at least if they did have a loss. If David and Wentworth and Joe and Aubry ended up on a tribe together, they would probably take out the returnee.
Well, I think Kelly would be willing because she's been targeted so much, and she doesn't know that David's behind it. And so Joe and Aubry are being targeted by the newer people. So, yeah, they might. That's a pretty good block if they got 4 people.
Yeah.
And especially if they could bring in the other person for 5. Yeah. As long as they don't lose, they're good. But
what's more likely to happen, given that all the comma members are still there, is that comma could, as we've seen before, they could end up in the majority again.
Well, we don't know, but probably they will level up the tribes with, the men will get so many buffs and the women's, I would imagine. The women's tray.
Uh-huh, okay.
I just stopped mid-sentence, but okay. I meant the buffs on the tray.
Uh-huh.
I saw it in my head clearly.
Got it.
So, but anyway, are there more? How many women are there? 1, 2, 3 on one tribe. let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 women.
Only
So that means
one
7
woman's
men.
been voted out. Yep, 2 men
Yeah,
have been
7
voted out.
men. Okay. So there is an extra woman. Yeah, but I'm really excited to see how the tribes get mixed up. And if they're going to, wow, what if you got a tribe with Eric and Joe and War Dog and who else? I would have said Chris, but
Lauren,
yeah,
Wendy, you're
Lauren
trying to make
and-
like a superstar physical
or
tribe.
Kelly and Aurora.
I would have,
and
I used to,
Lauren.
I would have jumped right to Kelly, but I'm not as impressed.
Yeah, since she's not
With
doing
her.
the swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lauren's good physically, and so is Aurora. So I think those are
The 2 strongest
the
women.
2 strongest, and
Yeah.
Kelly's right behind them,
Yep.
if not equal. I think she's equal in everything except maybe the swimming, but she can get by.
So do you think that was a spoiler in the next time on with Joe? That looked like an awfully clean, comma-colored buff on his arm.
I don't know. Rick's had on a blue buff too, but we've already heard him say what he said. So
When did we hear him say that?
I think I don't know if it was in one of the previous episodes or one of the clips, but I've heard him say that already. So that wasn't a new clip. Though Joe sounded newer, but yeah, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. We won't know for sure until
Till we get there.
we get there.
All right, anything else about next time on Survivor?
I don't think so. I'm a little more excited about Edge of Extinction just because Chris is out there. Because I don't really care too much about seeing anything with Keith or Reem. I could let them go easy, but I thought it might be interesting because I think if Chris really festers that feeling of being betrayed,
Yeah.
he's
Keith-
got a real shot.
Keith's
to
his
come back.
buddy, so
Though hopefully he'll calm down at some point because otherwise you'll just get voted right back out as soon as you get back.
yeah, he gotta hide that stuff. So I
Yep,
don't know if he's
yep,
had enough
yep.
life experience to know that or not. We'll see.
Well, yeah, there's only 2 people going back, and I can't see either one of them being Reem or Keith. So,
Seems unlikely.
yeah, so I think I could probably vent to those 2 and not worry
I
too
think
much
they'll
about
start
it.
to recognize that too,
But then they
when
don't know how
Chris shows
anybody
up.
goes back.
right?
They don't know anything yet, so they won't know that maybe until it's time to do something.
All right, how about a JSFL update?
I can do that. 25 people lost their USB 24. 26 people are now tied for first place with 15 points, including you, honey.
Yep.
There were 119 people who lost a safe point, and 1 person gained a vote-off point for Chris. And this person rolled their picks since week 1. They had
Nice.
Chris. They made picks.
I'm just gonna leave it.
Week 1 had Chris going home, so it rolled to week 2 and it rolled to week 3. Don't let it roll.
You roll
if
it
you
one more
keep
time, you're out of it.
rolling,
You're gonna roll right out of the game.
That's right.
better get back on
and they
that.
may have, I don't know.
Fortune
But,
has shined on you.
Yes, and you gained a vote off point. But I thought that was great. I was like, wow.
One person got
Who
it.
saw that coming?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, who
No
was
one-
that?
no
who was
one
that
saw that
person? And I
coming.
went looking, and it wasn't obvious. And I thought, dang, it's somebody that rolled because it's not showing. And I had to go search
You had
for
to walk
that.
it back, yeah.
Yeah, I had to walk it back and go looking for it to find it. And I was like, test T. Got it.
Well,
Good job.
Good on you. Hopefully,
However you came about it, you got it.
You're planning
So,
on staying in the game there
congrats.
because you just got a big break.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Okay, for the side challengers, with 15 points tied for first, Iron Dave and Stacy. With 14 points, Jack and Jeremiah. With 13 points, Randy and Slappy McGee. With 12 points, Brandon, Cold Mike, James and Shannon, Jonathan and Parker. With 11 points, Drew and Jay Kindred. And with 10 points, Brad.
All right, there we go. Well, 3 weeks in, and the crowd's starting to disperse a bit.
Yep. That usually happens.
So we have recapped and highlighted here, and it's hard to make predictions when they're shuffling to 3 tribes. But
Yeah. Well, and
is there
now we can say
anyone you-
Ron doesn't have an advantage
Yeah,
any
yeah.
longer.
Yeah, well, yes and no. He didn't have one that he can use to save himself or
But
to
he
steal
could
a reward.
do something fake.
Exactly. It could become the beginning of a fake idol that could be
Yeah.
that could help him. Just depends on how sharp he is.
So, the only 2 people with an advantage or an idol in the game is Aubry
Right?
and Lauren.
Yeah.
So we can take that into account. It's got to make them feel better going into a swap,
For sure.
knowing that they have at least protection for that first vote.
So Aubrey's been a big target. She's got some insurance. She's going to feel better. Wentworth has been a target over and over again. Keep seeing her name come up. So she'll be concerned. She'll be looking for something to go her way in the shuffle. And Wendy's been on the bottom since the drop, probably pretty much since day 1. So she may get some renewed life through the shuffle, or maybe they'll just shuffle her right on out of the game.
Yeah, maybe. I could go either way with her because she's decent in challenges. That's not an issue.
Right?
I mean, she's a really good swimmer, and but it's more her personality, I think, that's the problem. And being a little bit, she says she's not stubborn, but yeah, she is being a little stubborn and obstinate, I think, about.
I'd say Julie, with her lack of offerings for any strengths in the context of the
Yeah.
game, is probably back on the table as another potential one to get voted out. And then it'll be interesting to see if the Manu tribe actually does have any more improved gameplay after they get shuffled around a bit.
Well,
How they fare against Kama.
and we
this
haven't
stage of
seen.
the game.
We saw a good bit of Gavin the first week, even a little bit in the second week.
Who?
But
Gavin. Okay, sorry.
I was just going to say, but I forget he's even playing,
Yeah.
and I think you just
I
reaffirmed that.
couldn't follow the name. I thought you had actually
Thought I was saying
merged.
Devins.
merged someone else's name together the
No,
way it,
no, didn't
because
do
it sounded
that.
like Gabbins.
Gavin with a V.
Yep.
So I forget he's even playing because we haven't seen. He's not been highlighted very much. Of course, neither had Julia or Victoria. All we ever get's just her talking about things and strategizing.
Taking out the returnees. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And not so much from Aurora, but she looks good in the challenges.
And she's chosen to separate herself. She could have easily been in the returnee majority, and she chose not to. That's interesting. I don't think that bodes well for her.
What do you mean? She chose not to be
Part of the newbies alliance, the majority.
Okay, I thought you meant just the opposite. But here's the thing, though. We saw an extra clip with her going, oh, yeah, she could vote them out. No problem. And da-da-da-da-da. She was on board with the newbies.
Seemed that way, but
So,
not so much in this episode.
I know, but is she just playing both sides?
She wasn't counted when Victoria said they had 6.
But that's just
She
Victoria.
wasn't including her, so...
True, but maybe they hadn't talked about it. But she did say that because I was surprised in one of the extra clips last week.
Mm-hmm.
But, So I'm sure there's still a lot we haven't seen. And I guess I don't dislike Ron, but I don't really like him either.
Okay.
So I don't know why. He just seems kind of bland, but maybe it's just because we haven't seen as much of that tribe.
Well, you saw him construct a dance. What more do you really need from Ron?
Exactly.
All right, well, there you go. We've got a recap. We've got that done. Now it's time to turn it over to the super fans. It's your turn. We put together the listener feedback show on Saturdays. Feedback is due Saturday noon Pacific time. The voicemail line, easiest way to get your feedback in, 206-350-1547, toll free 844-643-8737. You just call up and share your thoughts, and then we'll add it into the listener feedback show on Saturday. You can record your own audio, sometimes get the best quality that way, depending on the conditions you record it in, of course. And send that as an attachment to an email to joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. Or you can write it up if you're not comfortable having your voice on the show. We give you another option. You send that in, and either Joanne or I will read it into the show on your behalf. And wow, we had, 29 last week? It was great. And we got to hear from a lot of new people. That always tickles us, as well as the folks that we're used to hearing every week. We love to check in with them too. So thanks, everybody. That was a great show last week. Let's put together another one. You guys did awesome. There were 12 out of the 20 audios. 12 of those came in by Friday, so I was able to get more than half of them ready.
Yes, and we
that
were
made
able
Saturday
to.
way easier on us.
Oh yeah, we were able to record before you went for your performance.
Yeah,
we didn't
that
get
worked out great.
post-production, but
thank
at
you,
least we got it.
and thanks to everybody who sent well wishes for me heading into that
That's
performance.
right.
too.
He did wonderfully well.
All right. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that.
We should say it was your banjo recital.
Mm-hmm.
He's been taking banjo lessons, private lessons, and so this was his instructor's banjo recital for his students.
Yeah. So
At
it was
the
good.
Strum Shop.
Everybody had a different style they were playing in. So
Yeah.
I was playing clawhammer.
And a 91-year-old
He was
singing and playing
Yeah, I can't even do
the
that
banjo.
yet. Yeah.
And what was it he sang?
Buffalo Gals.
Girls. Yeah,
Buffalo Gals.
Gals, not girls.
Yeah. That was great. Yep.
So yeah,
a
that was
whole
that was
range
fun.
of folks, and all of us are sort of in the early stages of our banjo learning. So we weren't like tearing it up by any means, but we were. Everybody did good and had a good time.
That's right. It was fun, and
Yeah.
everybody was supporting everyone, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So thanks again for the well wishes, and I had a good time with that. And look forward to putting together a listener feedback show this week. Anything else you need to add?
I think we're good. Good night, everybody.